Hi guys. So I know it's Sunday, but I've actually been to the flea market twice this weekend, and I got so many things that I don't even think I'll fit them in one video, and because I don't really want to keep making extra long videos, like an hour or so, because although I'm very grateful for the few people who watched them in their entirety, um, yeah, I don't know, it's kind of a bit much for me asking you for so much of your time. So I'll see how it goes if I find if I pick something more interesting from today's things. Maybe I'll just do some selection, or I don't know. But let's get on with it. So the first thing I found that took my like piqued my interest was this thing, and it's a readout for an Ieee something something. Um, I think this is one of those displays that the Tektronix 576 curve tracer had. I'm not sure if it's from that one, but it's basically a series of incandescent light bulbs with fiber optics leading to some basically a 7-segment display or something like that. Um, Let me find a pair of pliers. Oh, look. And let's take one of these apart and see what it's like. I'm not really in the mood of trying to solder wires to like the guy who cut this up cut the wires so close to each other that it's kind of impossible to, you know, take apart easily. And so there's 4 of these things in the package, and if I find my wire snips, I'm going to try and separate one out, this one, which is a bit so it's a one plane readout, and you can see inside there's some optics, there's some light paths basically. So let me actually try and get a at least one of these things to light up, because it says 5 volts on the side, and I have 2 banana here, banana to crocodile cables. Let's set the power supply to 5 volts. Okay, it's turned on, and I'm assuming the wire which was soldered was a common something. And oops, this is a very rigid, stiff banana jack. Oh yeah, you can see it. There's a it's an incandescent display of sorts. So let's try it with one of the other ones, which is it doesn't matter because they're incandescent. So oh yeah, look, you can see there's a 4, a 2, and a 9, actually a 6, a 3. So these are basically what they are. Oh, you can plug them into stuff. So these are just sockets. So these are basically they're kind of like Nixie tubes, but they run on very low voltage. They're kind of from the same era. I think these are after Nixie tubes. And famously, the 576 curve tracer, as I said before, had one of these displays. They're extremely complicated because they required lots of fiber optics to transfer the, you know, the light from the specific light emitting thing, the bulb, to transfer it to a mask of the corresponding digit. So, and I think it's not only digits, it's got to have some decimal point or something else, because yeah, there's more contacts than just you know, the regular 9 digits. So let's see if I can take this apart. Look, so I think these are the bulbs themselves. You can see they're pretty socketed. Actually, not even socketed, they're just, oh yeah, so you can see tiny individual light bulbs, and each one of these is basically one of the digits. And if you power it on, you can see it's pretty bright at 5 volts. It's actually 100 milliamps per digit. Damn, so it's half a watt per digit. And these would fit in right like this. And then there's an array of lenses which focused the beam a bit from the light. Come on. And there's the mask. Oh, so I was wrong. This is even cooler. So what each light does is it projects the light through one of the masks, and the rest of the optics are just concerned with putting it on a diffused piece of paper to project it, like to make it bigger. So it's not like the 576. That one was basically a fiber optics leading from one light to a display. I've never seen display technology like this. It's pretty cool. This one might even be salvageable, so instead of just throwing it away and sacrificing it, I'm gonna try and put it back together nicely, and maybe it can see the light of another day. Pun definitely intended. Okay, so this was like this, and this was like this, and oh yeah, it goes in like this. So it's the reverse order. The block with the lights goes in the last. This is very, very interesting. I've never seen one of these displays. If you know what these might have been used for, feel free to let me know, because they're really, really cute. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to cut the part out where I'm assembling it back together. Or actually, nah, you can stay here and suffer with me. So there's 4 of these, there's 4 digits, and the thing this one is missing is its diffuser, so it's a piece of paper. Let me give you one more look at these things, because it's really cute. So you can see them. What? This one's completely dead, apparently. Or I'm doing something wrong. That would explain why this thing was in the flea market if it wasn't working at all. So we got a 6, a 5, a 9. Okay, this one works. This one works. And this one I think doesn't work. Oh no, it works. Right, so I have 3.5 digits, the last half being a bit iffy. If anybody knows what these are actually called, I would be very happy to learn. So, this is the first piece of thing I found today. Let's get on with it, and let me show you the next item. So, I actually found these tubes around, and it took me like a few seconds to realize what these are. These are quartzes, like a quartz crystal. And how do I know that? Well, it says 4 kilohertz on them. They're in a vacuum. Actually, they're in a very high vacuum to prevent ingress of moisture and stuff like that. And inside there's going to be quite a large crystal. And I know this because I bought more of them, and one is fully smashed to pieces. So we have some mica insulators, and you can see the crystal in here. It's just a big quartz rod with some contacts and some metallization. So the way these work is piezoelectric effect. So the dipoles in the quartz shrink and expand when you apply an electric field from the outside. And this was probably meant to act in an oscillator of some configuration and produce a 5 kilohertz sine wave. But just imagine this is a very, very large piece of quartz. It's going to be very temperature um, sensitive. So the more material you have, the more material dilates when exposed to shifts in temperature. But you can just appreciate how big this is. Like you could make 50, 100, 200 regular quartz crystals for the same amount of quartz as in this thing. So yeah, and I actually have 3 of them. Guy had no idea what he was selling. There's a one of the, not one of the regular guys I buy things from, but another one. He specializes in weird electronics, so he has mostly new old stock components, and these were prominently on display because he thought they were some kind of tube, but they're not. They're quartz crystals. And now you've seen what is probably one of the biggest quartz crystals for electronics use you'll ever see. Right. Okay, it's already almost 12 minutes and we've only covered 2 things. So the next thing I found was a few vacuum tube circuits. So you remember when I said that I found one of these things and I didn't know what it was? Well, somebody graciously wrote that it's a RY or RU50 something amplifier. So this is, as somebody suggested previously, this is an actual high voltage tube operational amplifier. So there's some connections for a filament winding and some more stuff. I don't know. There might even be 2 of them because there's enough parts inside for 2 sections or 2 operational amplifiers. But you can see just how big this thing was because I only showed you half, and the one that I had actually had one busted tube. And how can you tell if a tube is busted? Well, if you see white in the getter, it means that the getter has exhausted itself trying to absorb air ingress, and well, it couldn't do it because it oxidized itself fully. And yeah, so if you see a tube with a white patch in the getter, and the getter being the shiny metal thing that looks like that, you know that's a dead tube. And these all still seem intact. I'm not going to try and power it on now. I'm just going to see if the trimmers still move because, yeah, okay, that's fine. So I'm going to try and figure out the pinout for this now knowing its name. This is obviously, this is somebody's name, I can't read it, but it's second category of repaired, verified, so this might actually be fully working. Right, and more RF, more Soviet tube stuff. So these are a few, I think, tetrodes. I think they're called rod tetrodes because the entire internal construction is made from some things that look like rods. I'm not sure if you can see them through the glass. You can see they're going down there. So it's not a beam tetrode, it's a rod tetrode. And these are probably something like an amplifier, and they're for RF because you can see they're on a ceramic substrate, and all of these are on ceramic substrates. And actually this one is just very thick fiberglass. These 2 are on ceramic. And yeah, I'm not holding high hopes for this one because there's a broken, like one of the pins on one of these things is broken, but they're really pretty to look at. And these are high voltage capacitors, I think. So these are SMD capacitors from the earliest points in the life of SMD technology. And these are, for example, I think this one is a 680 picofarad 250 volt capacitor, and or 6.8 nano, something like that. Oh no, these are the same value, but this one is just lower voltage. So And you can see the vias are done with using, oh, there's no vias because there's no traces on the other side. But for example, for this one, there's a via, and it's this, it's not even a via. The vias are just stakes, so there's a pin going through both sides, so there's no metal plating in the hole for anything. And I think, might be wrong, but these resistors, which are kind of the same series as these ones, these are called MLT series, and they're very good metal film resistors from the Soviet era. Right. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. I'm out of breath already. God damn it. Next thing I found was a flash, and I really don't know why I got this thing, but I wanted to maybe share this with a few guys who might not know, if there is any. But these flashes, which are extremely cheap in flea markets, are very good actually sources of a high voltage generator. So the way flashes work is that they have a high voltage capacitor that charges up to a fair few hundred volts, between 300 and 400 volts or something like that. And then there's a trigger transformer that ionizes the gas basically inside this xenon lamp. Let me take it apart, make it educationally friendly. Yeah, that works. So you can see there's a lamp inside, and I'm going to just desolder it quickly from here so I can tell you. So you can see there's two windings that go straight to, they basically go straight to the flash capacitor. And there's a third winding, this one, which is going to the metallization, basically, to the metal bits around the xenon flash tube. And the purpose of that thing is that normally the xenon isn't conductive even at the 400 volts. So you can see it's actually going to a bit of wound wire around the tube. So what happens is the circuit underneath here charges the capacitor, this big Rubicon capacitor, and it does that with a basic flyback. So it's just got a flyback transformer and a converter inside that generates a high voltage and charges the capacitor through a not very large resistor, so they're meant to be charged pretty quickly. So you can see this is the main flyback transformer, and this is the trigger transformer. So what happens is this gets up to, I don't know, 300 volts on it, basically, something like that. And then when the camera sends a pulse to basically tell the thing to flash, to trigger, a part of the charge stored on this capacitor is ran through this trigger transformer, which generates a very, very sharp rising, very fast rising pulse of high voltage, which couples capacitively through the gas and through the glass and into the gas inside, ionizes it, and makes it conductive. And when it discharges, the entire energy of this capacitor basically flashes through the tube in that intense discharge, and it creates a very bright, very white light. It's in the neighborhood of 6500 Kelvin. And you might see there's a bit of coil here, so there's a bit of inductance. Why is it there? Well, if it weren't for that piece of wire, for the bit of inductance, then the flash would be much shorter. And first of all, you kind of want the flash to be a few hundred microseconds long or something like that. And if it's too short, the energy dumps through the flash tube too quickly. And if that happens, well, you don't have a flash tube anymore, you have a grenade. And this is quartz, and it's very, very, I think it's under pressure, so it's got to resist quite a lot of energy. These things can set paper on fire when you hit the flash, trigger the flash, and you put a piece of paper underneath it, or black plastic or something like that. it's going to emit a puff of smoke. That's how I actually screwed up the very first flash I had for my very first Sony DSLR back in the day. Oh, and you can use these if you take the coil out, and you can use these to make small coil guns and stuff like that. And you can do the very stupid thing that I did once when I was in high school. Was I had one of these charger things from a single-use camera, and I had one of these capacitors, and I would charge it up and I would throw it at somebody and I would say catch, and they very quickly learned not to catch anything I threw them. I was an asshole. Jesus Christ, I can't believe I shared that with you guys. You're gonna think less of me now. And I found another one of these counters, and as you can see, this is almost perfectly set to 0. So let's ruin that, shall we? It's not going to be very satisfying, so I think it needs much more than that. Yeah, so apparently 12 volts is not enough. Oh, I get it. You need to set it alternating. Oh, so probably it's got a small AC motor inside. So another one of these decade counters, 200 to 1, 5 volt DC. So it's probably got a. I was doing a very stupid thing by giving it more than 5 volts. So it probably needs a square wave to. Yeah. So a pole's going one direction to drive it, and going another direction to kill it, but to move it a next step. So it steps by alternating the polarity. I'm not going to take this apart because it's kind of pretty and it's very brand new. It's made by Oswell, and so 200 turns of the shaft is 1 turn of this thing, which is a 1/10 of the turn of this thing, and etc., etc. So. And yeah, tested. It went through at least a test. This was 30 cents or something like that. You can imagine. Next item. Let's see. Okay, let's go with this one. What in God's name is this? Oh, it's a Hitachi. Not that kind of Hitachi. It's a viewfinder for a big E&G camera, so electronic news gathering. And it's a CRT again. You can see the CRT front there. And look at this mount. So this is a very robust mechanical mount. So these things were meant to take one hell of a beating, and you could probably lift the entire camera from this viewfinder and there would be no problem. This was also very cheap. I actually have 2 CRT viewfinders on it today, so that brings me up to 5 of these small ones and this big boy. And you can see that the CRT inside is actually pivoting around with the entire assembly, and that's obvious because you'd want to have the same picture regardless of the angle you're viewing it through. So let me pause the video, take this apart, and let's talk about what's inside. Although you've seen this kind of thing at least 3 times on my channel before, hopefully I'm not bothering you. It's one of the bigger ones, and I got it because it was so big. If I can find the... this will do. I'll be right back. Alright, so I have some bad news, both for me and for you. So somebody was stupid enough to twist the heck out of this thing, literally twist it and twist it and twist it, because there was no stop apparently, hard stop at the end of the travels, and he just twisted, they twisted it so far that they broke the tip of the vacuum tube, the evacuation port. So the CRT is now completely buggered, which is frankly a complete and utter shame, because I really wanted a bigger one. So this is a Matsushita. Oh, and it's one of the mask LCD ones. Oh no, no, it's not. No, sorry. I was almost even more upset. I think this is a degaussing coil or just a tally light. So you have some, well, no, it's not a degaussing coil. It's a tally thing, so it tells you battery low, stuff like that, recording live, high gain, etc. And this is the famous cup for the high voltage. We have another very pretty yoke, and there's a completely dead CRT. As you can see, the evacuation stem is missing entirely. And that is a massive shame, because just look at how big this CRT is compared to this one. It's at least 4 times the size. Anyway, yeah, that's really a kick in the pants. Well, you win some, you lose some. Like, I can't find perfect stuff all the time, every day at the flea market. I'm not, you know, you find according to each and everybody's luck. But at least let me try and take this apart a bit further so you can see the rest of the electronics inside. This is going to be too big. This is going to be almost just right. Yeah. This is the control board. Basically, it had a contrast, brightness, and peaking, and a tally light, enable, disable. And let me see, how can I evacuate this thing? And it's got water damage as well, because why not? So I told you these things live a pretty rough life, and yeah, this one wasn't treated particularly kindly. And there's some connectors here that I can unplug, and some soldered things as well. But basically, this is the high voltage bit, the part that generates the high voltage. This was the going straight through to the yoke, and I have no idea where that might have come from, but you can see they use a star ground, so this is probably the ground, and it's meant for signal integrity purposes. So I think I explained this the past time, but how these things work is that the beam of electrons is accelerated by that terminal there. Oh, and one more thing. This is high voltage enough that the high voltage has to be on the front of the tube. It can't be here behind it. So it's probably even higher voltage as well. And this yoke creates two magnetic fields that deflect the beam left to right and up and down. And there's a horizontal frequency and a vertical frequency, and that differs from PAL to NTSC. And so if you look at a video signal, I'll try and insert a video signal thing here. You can see that there's a sync pulse, and then there's the brightness for each line, and then it moves to the next line and the next line and the next line, and then there's basically a circuit that locks that signal and makes it display, like makes it locked to a display. I'm really pissed that this thing is broken. Really, I'm really sorry that it's not working. This would have been really nice to see, a joy to see. Very, very pretty display. Oh well, not much of a loss. Like, it was very cheap. Okay, let's have a 2-for-1 special, because these come from the same pile. So it's very interesting. Saturday there's some specialized sellers. Sunday there's people literally selling stuff out of their own houses to pay for stuff, and it's very sad. So this is a blood glucose analyzer, and it's making my skin crawl already, because it's coming from a hospital, and I'm not entirely sure how sanitary it is. But anyway, I'm gonna clean everything up afterwards when I'm done with this thing. So of course there's tape everywhere to shield the piezo, and we have a very nice gold-plated connector, which connects to, come on, connects to the sample, the test. And I think this is a switch. Jesus Christ, what's wrong with me? And I think this is a switch, and this is a thermistor to measure the temperature, because, you know, readings depend on the temperature at which you're doing the measurement. And NEC microcontroller, and on the back we have some integrated circuits which either have the serial number milled off or something, because yeah, there's not much info here to be found. The idea is that there's I think there is an enzyme on those test strips that basically, when it detects the sugar, it transforms it, it deproteinizes it or something like that, and it generates a small electric current, and they just measure that electric current and they get the equivalent, the glucose in the blood. And this means operating room, so it's probably from a hospital in Italy somewhere. And it's made by Bayer, and these things, I'm still shocked at how cheap these things are made. So they're made to cost as little as possible. Let's see, if I apply 6 volts to this thing, will it beep at us, say something, do something? Assuming black is negative. It's drawing 2 milliamps, but it's not doing much. I think it's expecting something, some sort of card to read it. Like, you can't program anything into it. You can't. It just wishes you to plug in the sample, and it will tell you the number, and that's it. And this might be. It might be something like a single slope ADC with this capacitor here for integrating and stuff like that. I'm not entirely sure how these work, but as I said, they're meant to be as cheap as possible, so I can't really think of a cheaper ADC than a couple of switches and a capacitor, because you already have a microcontroller with a decently good clock inside. Yeah. And the second thing, it's this Oregon Scientific. This is a very fancy sounding name, but I don't think it's got anything to do with either Oregon or Scientific. So this is I think a walkie-talkie. It's a PRM transceiver. I'm not entirely sure what the PRM thing is. It's full of gunky batteries, and I'm going to try and separate it into 2 pieces and discard the gunky batteries as much as possible. So I looked it up a bit on the internet, and it said that you can find your friends and family using this thing, and it's basically a walkie-talkie. Like, I mean, you know, there's nothing inside. Let's see, the contacts are here and here, so these are the 2 bits, and I'm assuming 4.5 volts should be enough to get it started, and this has got to be the negative. Sorry you weren't seeing what I was doing there. And yeah, it's a walkie-talkie. And my fingers are conductive enough to trigger this thing. I'm curious if I can hear anything on it. Oh, by the way, the inrush current on this thing is pretty brutal. So when I just plugged it in, my power supply tripped the overcurrent protection. So a walkie-talkie. Like, there's nothing. I can change the channels. No, we can't change the channels. What is this thing good for? Almost nothing. Anyway, it's pretty cute. Like, and it's working, which is very fascinating. Like, I wasn't expecting it to still work to any degree. Filters. This is the RF section. It's got a bit of power amplification for the output. Very quirky, twisted copper wire antenna. Operational amplifier. 324, and that's about it. So this is probably for the speaker, I think, or no, I think there's no, this is for the speaker. No, sorry, this is for the microphone, and this part here is for the speaker, so it's probably from one of these 324 op amps here. And I initially thought they were using the speaker as the microphone, but then I saw the capsule, the electret microphone there. Yeah, a walkie-talkie. Or as the French say, a talkie-walkie. Okay. Not gonna bother showing you this because we've already seen several of these in the past. It's just a video display, and this is from a Panasonic. I think I actually have an identical one around from somewhere. Please dispose of your batteries safely. Don't kill the dolphins or the eels, or you know. I found this gorgeous Casio. It's an FX39 scientific calculator. It's a bit water damaged, which is really not great, and I think that the wire, the positive wire, is completely detached due to corrosion, and I can't seem to find any screws, so I'm assuming that it just pops open and shut. So let me try and take it apart as nicely as possible. I wish I had one of the guitar picks, but yeah, my crusty fingernails should do just fine. Oh, there is a screw there. I couldn't see it for the rust. Here's hoping I didn't. Okay, it's fine. Right, so as I told you, one of the wires was completely evaporated. Where is it though? Oh, so this thing folds over in order to expose the Hitachi chipset, basically. And there should be, okay, so the contact is here, and yeah, there is a wire connected here. So let's try and power it up and see if it still works. So I think 3 volts for 2 AA batteries, and this should be the positive, and this one here should be the negative. Oh, and it works! Look at that! Let's see. Can you still see it? Nice! Really nice. This is really pretty. I had the FX81, inherited it from my mom, but I have no idea where it is. Yeah, so it's got the same TDK inductor for the, actually I think it's transformer, has quite a lot of windings. Might be a flyback. And a glorious looking VFD. Look at just how pretty these things are. This one's made by NEC, Nippon Electric Corporation. And yeah, a few diodes for, I think it's for the multiplexing for the keyboard. I don't remember how you call that. For the numpad and the keys or stuff here, and a small selector circuit for either if you're using a power pack or the batteries inside. I forgot to see how much current this thing draws. It's gotta be quite significant, actually. Like, I remember the batteries on that FX81 didn't last a very long time. So yeah, it's 50 milliamps, and when it's doing something, it's up to 52 milliamps. So, oh, and this one is nice because it's got the exponent as well. So it's a true scientific calculator. I'm going to thoroughly clean this out and try and replace the contact for the negative wire there, and change the screw out for one that isn't completely rusted. Oh, this might fit actually very well in there. And add it to my collection of calculators, which is totally not an obsession. By the way, do you know anything for brightening up plastic? I remember peroxide or something like that, because it's the boron in the plastic that makes it flame-proof, fireproof, is the one that oxidizes in time and gets this ugly color. Because this one initially, like when it was new, it would have been shiny, sparkly, brilliantly white. But now it's gotten this icky cream color. So I'm trying to figure out a way to brighten up a few, you know, consumer electronics I have from back in the day. Holy moly. Okay, this is a GSM to PABX bridge. I have no idea what that means. It's made in Romania. And I'm assuming that you just, like, it serves as a bridge between some sort of ground-based system and the GSM network. And as a Romanian, I'm pretty proud of what these people did here. So it looks reasonably nice, actually. I don't mind it at all. This is a Huawei modem, so basically the guts of the entire thing rely on this modem. And there's some, I think, logic level shifters, and that's about it. So they only probably did the regulation, the power regulation from 24 volts AC to, so it can accept either 12 volts DC or AC, and it drops it down, and there's a couple of big capacitors to store the oomph needed when this thing starts transmitting. And do you think it's worth it for me to plug this into the spectrum analyzer and see if I get anything? Hold on, I'll be right back. I'll try and power it up and put an antenna on it and put an antenna on the spectrum analyzer and see if it does anything. GSM 900, GTM 900, so it should be around 900 megahertz, which is basically smack dab in the middle of my antenna's bandwidth. So this was the SIM carrier, so I don't think it will do much without a SIM. Remember when SIMs were this big? Couple of these are transistors, but they're actually voltage regulators, so they built them discreetly. And this is a converter. I think it's a flyback converter or something. Yeah, for a thing designed in Romania, I kind of like it. It looks very, very decent. The only thing that lets it down a bit is, you know, the enclosure. It's kind of ugly. I'll be right back. I'll see if it does anything, if it transmits anything or asks for anything. Yeah, so I couldn't get it to do anything interesting. I don't know, I mean, it probably works, but I haven't got the time or the patience to figure this out at the moment. This is the antenna I found for it, and I think it's pretty much the perfect one for the bandwidth. This was for 800 or 900 megahertz or something like that, around there. Yeah. I don't have many more things, but I'm still way over, you know, what I should be. I have found at the same guy with the, what do you call them? The quartz crystals, I found these as well. So this is a Russian ceramic capacitor. These are for high voltage, and they're very pretty. I have no idea if this is like 33 picofarad or something like that, 750 volts, or no, 10 kilovolts. I think. These are high voltage, very high voltage capacitors. These are over voltage arresters. They're like spark gap triggers for, I think, telephone lines or something like that. Let me turn on the 2, 3, whichever, and see if it sparks over at, like, I only have a kilovolt available, so let's see if I can make it spark over. Hang on tight. Okay. I don't know. Let me turn off the light. Oh yeah, you can totally see it. On focus. Yeah, and I'm gonna hold it by the glass because glass is a perfect insulator in this case. And it's 100 volts, 200, 300, 400 volts, and it lights up. So yeah. And this is meant to basically discharge something to ground, to protect from over voltage scenarios. And yeah, I got 3 of them because why not? I don't need any, because I don't need, so I got 3 of these. And I also got some precision capacitors. These are, I think, made by ITT. These are 4,000 or something picofarad, 40,000 picofarad, so 40 nano, I think, 40,000 picofarad means, look at me failing. So picos to minus 12, minus 9th is nano, so 40 nano, right? Yeah, 125 volts. And these are plus minus 0.1% or 1%. Yeah, the only one I can find with any writing says plus minus 1%. And the last thing I found from the same guy as these was this barcode scanner. So I don't know if I tried plugging it into a USB, but I don't know how much of a useful endeavor that is. Let me try, give it a try first. Actually, I'm going to plug it into the oscilloscope's USB, because yeah, I don't see it really working at all. So we're gonna take it apart, and lucky for us, this cable just unplugs. It's a USB to whatever this cable, this connector is, RJ45, I don't remember exactly. And it's got a mirror on a, like a very fine trembly thing inside, so it's a mirror on a galvo basically, and the laser, and this seems to be a magnet, an electromagnet, and there's a magnet here definitely, you can see it attracts my screwdriver, and this is a laser diode, and this is a reflector. So what it does is you can see there's a mirror here with 2 surfaces which aren't planar, basically they're not the same surface. So the laser emits through here, bounces off this mirror here, which keeps going like this all the time, and it scans the laser and it sends it back to this photodiode here, which reads either a 1 or a 0 depending on whether there's a white spot or a black spot in your barcode. And why this isn't working, I am not entirely sure, because these things are very, very simple. It might need a driver to work. So it's not a galvanometer, basically, galvanometer, but it's not very far off. So, and there's a bit of electronics in there. Let me take this out carefully. So, flex connector. And there's a tweeter here to make the beeping noise when you scan things. And this is the switch. And I think that it's just gonna pop out like the entire PCB. Yeah. So, as you can see, there's not much to it. They didn't even bother to put in whatever this device was, some sort of over/under voltage protection, and the chipset is made by Nuvoton. I think they're big in the consumer electronics thing, and let's see if Windows actually finds it. If maybe Windows finds it and starts talking to it, and it acts like a human input or something like that. I don't know. Can you see what I'm doing here? Okay, so let me plug this cable in here, and I'm going to I'm gonna kill the light for a bit so I can have access to a known good working USB hub port. Oh, and Windows said something, and yeah, nothing. Well, it's probably dead, but yeah, you've seen how it works. So, yet again, not much loss. These things are, I keep buying these things because they're cheap and mildly educational. They're just barely interesting enough to warrant like a quick 2-minute tear down and an explanation. That's it. But I really don't have much more time to dive deeper into these things because I barely have enough time to do this video this week. It's been very, very busy and hectic. Alright, I still have a couple of more things. One of them is I found a couple of these nice cameras that I found a while back, and they're fully working and they have lenses. So these lenses have electronic apertures, I think, because they require the cable here. And yeah, I haven't been able to fully test these, but I'm pretty sure the camera bit works perfectly. And I found one of these, so this one is kind of worth it. So this is a POS point of sale thing, FPOS, something like that. I don't remember what they're called. But these things kind of have the same level of paranoid security as that ATM keypad I showed you a while back. So let me take the battery out. It's pretty puffy, I think. And it's made by Sagem, whatever. I think they used to be big in the cell phone market. Like I remember, I never had a Sagem phone, but they used to be pretty popular. And look at me, I'm doing Torxes with a flathead. Please don't do what I do. Okay, so, and there's probably gonna be another screw or something underneath here. Nope. Oh, I think it's holding on in the sticker that says security. Yeah. So here we go. SIM card immediately popped out, and this wasn't fully undone. I apologize. Okay, so what do we have here? Well, first of all, we have a thermal printer. We have a board with something on it. And this something might be the first bit of security that we find. The thermal printer itself is a separate module, I think. This doesn't need to be secure at all. So it's just a printer, and it works on that thermal paper which you heat up to darken. The rest of the thing, though, has to be secured. The modem itself and and it's very tamper proof. So I already killed it when I removed the housing because I released the switch, and it probably kills itself if you release that switch. There's various anti-tamper features in these things because you can't be going around stealing other people's money. What are you, a bank? Okay, and let's figure out how to take this apart carefully. So, okay, there's a flat cable that unplugged itself nicely, and another one. And this is just the printer. So, you can see small... Oh, and an antenna. Okay, GPRS antenna. So, great. This is the modem. So, this is probably not very secure either, because it doesn't need to be as long as the transmission is secured and encrypted and whatever you want to call it. Jesus, stabbed myself almost there. And yeah, this is a modem, GPRS modem. It's very, very pretty nice looking actually. Let's see what's underneath here. Underneath the shield, it's a TI component. It's TI part and Scilabs. Gee, this is a pretty nice modem, I think. It looks very nice. The ceramic, the lead carrier on the TI is very pretty. You can see the gold leads there. So it's I'll try and link these in. TWL 316B27. Jesus. Kyocera, I think this is the filter amplifier or something like that for basically the front end for the whole modem. Yeah, pretty interesting. Okay, so this is the modem. This is the bit that communicates over the cell network with the bank. This is a interface board that ties several of the functions together, and it's got like a couple of this is a buck regulator, a boost regulator, some sort of switching regulator, and it's missing some optional components around here. And now here we have the bee's knees, the guts of the device. Let me see if I can figure out how to unplug this, extract this carefully. Apologies for the... Oh, this is the magnetic tape reader. So this is actually reading the... You can read the magnetic tape on cards using this thing. So you can see there's 3 heads, I think. Yeah. So there's probably 3... what do you call them? Tracks on that tape. And it's going to basically a tape head amplifier around here. And this thing is really staying kind of put inside here. It's really not really it doesn't really want to come out. Oh, it did in the end. So what do we have here? Keyboard, LCD. This is a pretty nice LCD. Keyboard, and we have a shield underneath here, which I'm pretty sure is going to contain a big blob of potting compound, or I hope not, though. I'm losing my patience with this thing. Oh no, it's just got a Hynix memory, something RAM, probably a CPU or something, and some flash memory. And this is the other card reader, so you can chip read it. So this is for the card chip. This is for the one that we just took apart. Where is it? This one is for the magnetic tape, and this one here is for the chip of the card. And it's got a backup battery from Sanyo. another bit of switching regulation. This is actually the main input for the battery, so it's got to be a charger as well. And yeah, that's about it. So probably the entire security mechanism is within this microcontroller here, and by just taking it apart, you've killed it. I remember there's some devices that had some wires running over the silicon, and when you did something, they would just catastrophically self-destruct using that wire as a basically a piece of fuse, and yeah, they would just kill themselves, because you wouldn't really want anybody being able to hack one of these things. And this is very interesting. I've never seen that kind of connector. It looks like a USB, it smells like a USB, but it's not quite a mini USB, maybe something very similar. And we got an on semiconductor chip here. This is probably also going to either it might be LCD driver or something like that, and 7414 filter capacitor. Yeah, so POS, point of sale thingy, with a thermal printer, an antenna, and wireless modem. So this makes it very easy for you to pay with your card wherever you go. There's one more thing I can show you, but you're gonna have to give me a few minutes to clean up. I'll be right back. Alright, so in the end I just gave up. So I'm just gonna show this to you as... It's a big box, it's a big metal box with some giveaways. A bell, which is basically main giveaway, and there's a this is Italian, and it says weekday, day of the month, so day of the week, day of the month, year, hours, minutes, and seconds. It's got a place for a modem and some buttons for a user interface, and it says here solemn semplice. I have no idea what this means. This means funeral, I think. And this is a church bell tower controller made by Deltron. Servo Comanda Module Jotlo Master 1 something something. And so this is the thing that controls clock towers, bell towers for churches. And you can see it runs on a Zilog Z80. And it's pretty stuck in here. I don't know what I did to it. And it's very, very simple. But it's kind of nice, actually. I actually like this this device quite a lot. So we have a Z80 here. So this is the CPU. This is counter timer. And this is programmable I/O. And this is I think a ROM and a RAM, something. I have no idea what this is. And we have some glue logic here, and bastards scratched the number off of the things, and an ULN 2803 Darlington driver. This is basically for I think it's for driving this LED displays, these LED displays, and the rest of the LEDs. And basically you have the transistors, and they're multiplexing the digits basically one at a time. Some more 4000 series logic, and if we look on the back, there's not much in the box. There's just a transformer and a power supply, a regulator, an input filter, and a baud I made to power it up and see if it still works. But if you look on the bottom, there's even less. So there's another 2803 Darlington driver with some relays. These are actually very nice relays made by Finder. The contacts are very, very pretty. They look very good, so they look like it's not been used much. My suspicion why this thing is in my hands has something to do with the way that the not the front panel looks. The front panel looks basically impeccable, but how the enclosure looks. So it seems to me that at some point this thing was mounted somewhere and somebody tried to rip it off using the front panel, and they only dented this thing, and then they figured out that wait, there's holes for mounting it to a wall here, and they then figured out that you can pull it up and run with it. So it's probably been stolen from somewhere. But this is an actual Zilog Z80, which is the first one I've ever seen in real life. And yeah, the thing is fully operational. I have no idea how to program it, how to do anything with it. Just a second to show you how it works and what it does. It's kind of hard to see the LEDs because they're very dim. And okay, so power on. And you can see you could hear a relay click, and you can see the flicker from the multiplexing on the lights. And it's much worse than it looks like in real life. So I have no idea what this thing is doing. You can set a thing here, so you can set the type of belt toll, and you can program it like a time and a date for when to toll what kind of toll, and for whom the bell tolls. That was a joke for all the Metallica fans out there. Jesus Christ, this is the longest video I've done so far. I'm very sorry. Yeah, and that's about it. Just some... you can see there's enough space for an extra few relays to be mounted here. I think it could have even more... I could control even more bells and whistles. And okay, I'm gonna stop. Okay, so... I don't know what to do with a Z80. I've never even... really seen one till now. I'm gonna try and fix this dent and keep the box for something. But how cool is this? A church bell controller with a Zilog Z80. Man. Oh, and a read relay here. And that's about it. Okay, I've taken up more than enough of your time. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you want to see me do anything in particular with anything I've shown you so far, I'll give it my best. I don't really chuck things away. Oh, by the way, the hard drive that wasn't working last time, I actually fixed it. There were a couple of dead tantalum capacitors, and now it works fine. So, yeah. I took the, what do you call it, the read heads off of it completely. I might try and do one of those POV things, persistence of vision. And yeah, okay, thanks again for watching, and have a great week, and stay safe out there. Bye bye.